Rihan? I see that you've unmuted, but we're not hearing anything, so we'll just move on. Rihan, him, his. I don't know his access needed this time. When we can hear him, we make him jump in. Um, Applied science rep.
Nick, he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
So we have arts and social science rep.
I'm Jennifer. She, her, hers, and access needs are met.
Okay. We have Andrew, business rep.
Hi, my name is Andrew. Pronouns he, him, his. All my access needs are met.
Sweet. We have FCAT rep.
Hi, my name is Fiona. Pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
So we have education.
Hi, my name is Emily. She, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
We have environment. Environment.
Hi, my name is Julian. He, him, his. All my access needs are met.
Health science.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asab. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and all my access needs have been met.
And then we have science.
Hi, my name is Simran. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and my access needs are met.
Okay, sweet. And then we have society staff.
Sylvia, she, her, hers. My access needs are met. Thank you.
Executive assistant.
Shanika Blake, she or hers, and my access needs are met.
Okay. Admin assistant.
Christine, she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Sweet. Is the quality researcher? No. Sarah?
Yep. Sarah, she, her, and hers. All my access needs have been met.
Sweet. And we go on to the Rowena, finance.
Rowena, she, her, hers. All my access needs are met. Due to a prior commitment, I need to leave by 3:30.
Okay, that's fine. All right, sweet. And then we have the peak. Is the peak here? I think their issue has closed, and I don't think they sent anybody over. Can somebody ping the news editor by any chance as well? Just to see if he's around. Council liaison.
My name is Ryan. He, him, his. All my needs are met.
Sweet and cool. Other guests, thank you for being here as usual. We are happy to have you tune into the board meeting, and yeah, so we will go on to the agenda of the day. So we have ratification and regrets. So we have we had Jasdeep on the list, and Nigel and Shana did send earlier. However, thankfully Jasdeep and Nigel are here. I haven't gotten any regrets from anybody else, so we move on to ratify the regrets of Shina. All right, so current motion is be it resolved to ratify the regrets from Jasdeep Gill. May I have a mover? Just unmute your mic, and I'll ask for confirmation. Rehan moves, and Julian seconds, if they're agreeable to that. So I will move to amend to strike Jasdeep from this list and add Shina because the rest of people are here. May I have a seconder for that? Just unmute your mic and ask for confirmation.
Sorry, Jessica is also not here.
Yes, I haven't got no regrets from Jessica. Sylvia. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, seconder Andrew. So me. So yeah, Shina is in our academic. The vice provost academic, there's a search committee for that, and she's there, and she'll join us later on in the board meeting or for the board meeting. So any other discussion? Okay, no discussion. Seeing none, we move to a vote. All in favor of the amendment? To our seeking unanimous consent. My apologies. If there's any opposition, please let me know to challenge it. Emily and Julian, are you okay? So seeing no opposition, the amendment is carried. Back to the main motion. Be resolved to ratify regrets from China Core. China Core. In a discussion for the regrets as a whole. Seeing no discussion, moving to a vote. I'm seeking unanimous consent on the motion. If there's any opposition, just please indicate by unmuting. Seeing none, the motion is carried. So we move on to adoption of the agenda. Be resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Any mover for that motion, just please unmute. Simran moves and Osab seconds. I will. Okay, do we have any amendments? Do we have any amendments? We have a lot of amendments. Jennifer, you can start with yours.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda to include a discussion item, the ongoing webcam exam issue. I sent an email like half an hour ago about this.
Okay, sweet. Do we have another amendment? Remember, the emails that you sent are not officially amending the agenda yet. So this is the time. So the accessibility standard, I believe that there's a couple other amendments that you have as well. Oh, yes, you have an amendment to the motion. Okay, I see. Never mind. I have an amendment for a authorities to be done. Peak, can you please mute? I'll mute on your behalf. Thank you for coming to Peak. I will move to amend the agenda to include the motion as I will type. It's signing authorities under new business. So I will amend that. I'll take in all those amendments. So we have both the webcam. What's the title of your amendment?
It's ongoing webcam exam issue.
Okay. Ongoing. Okay. All right. Seeing no more. Well, if there are any more amendments that people want to add, any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on amending the agenda. Yeah, so seeking unanimous consent to amend with those two items. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. We're back to the main motion. Be resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. No discussion. Seeing no opposition, seeing no discussion, I'm moving to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition, I will take the motion as carried, as amended. And these are unanimous. So approval of the minutes. Be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes. May I have a mover for the motion? This is BOD 0401. I moved the amendment. Who seconded the amendment? I didn't have it. I didn't write it. Sorry. Who seconded the amendments that I had? Did anybody second? My apologies. Can I have somebody go into second or just reconfirm that you seconded if that's by any chance by just unmuting? Or if you didn't have a chance. Okay, so we have to do that over. Okay, my apologies. So be resolved to adopt the agenda as presented, and we had the move on second for that. I think you have that. Christian. So you have the Simran moved and Osab seconded, and then for the amendment, I moved. Can I have a seconder for the amendments? Can I have a seconder for the amendments? So Rayhan seconds the amendments, and now we're moving to a vote on that because the previous vote was void. So seeking unanimous consent, if there's no opposition, the motion is carried. And now we go back to the main motion. Be resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Seeking unanimous consent on the motion, seeing no unmuting. the motion is carried as amended unanimously. So approval of the minutes. Be resolved to receive and file the following minutes. Board 2020-0401. May I have a mover? May I have a mover to receive and file the board minutes? Rehan moves. Any seconder? Nick seconds. So Rehan moves. Nick seconds. 6.1. And we'll just go straight into the vote. Seeing I don't think there is any consent on the minute. Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition. Is Rehan, are you opposing the consent? I don't think so. But by that, the motion is carried. Committee minutes. Be resolved to receive and file the following minutes. FAC 2020-02-28 and UAA 2020-02-24. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that motion? Mover. Can I have a mover? On 6.2, can I have a mover? Yeah. Julian moves. Julian moves and Nick seconds. Julian moves. Nick seconds. Seeing no discussion, or I don't anticipate that there will be. We'll just move directly to a vote. I'm seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition by unmuting. The motion is carried. Council minutes 6.3. May I have a mover to be resolved to receive and file the following minutes. Council 2020-02-12, Council 2020-02-26. May I have a mover? Rehan. May I have a seconder? Nick. So, seeing no discussion or anticipating no discussion, I will move to a vote seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. So we have a presentation today. Moody Center Transit Oriented Development Area Plan, and I will give them the floor. Shanika, can you advise? Sylvia?
I am not sure where they are. Shanika had sent them the information.
Yes, Zoe's online. Is it possible for you to put her presentation up, Giovanni?
Great. Yes, so Zoe has the ability to share screen currently, so just press present now, Zoe. Thank you so much for coming. Just press present now and then you'll have the floor.
Fantastic. Will I need to have the presentation up on my screen? Sorry, I thought it was had by someone in the group.
Say again?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I thought the presentation was being shared on your end. So just...
Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that.
There. Fantastic.
I can do that as well. Can Shanika, your message? Check your message. By any chance.
I think I can do it. Sorry.
I believe Jessica is here. Jessica is here, so please note as present in the minutes when the time comes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry about being late.
That's fine. Shanika, can you send me the PowerPoint again? I seem to not have it here.
Sorry, Giovanni, if I just share my screen, will it come up? I have it on my end.
Yes, it will. It will come up.
Okay. I resent it to you, Giovanni.
Via email?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Zoe's presenting here. I think that's fine as well.
Can you see this?
Yes, please, and thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I might just jump in. I know we're a couple of minutes past 2:30. So first of all, thank you so much for having us. My name's Zoe Ball from Pottinger Bird Community Relations. And also on the line is Katie Muslecko from BD Living.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sweet. Thank you.
Great.
Wonderful. So we are very pleased to have some time on your agenda today to share a bit with you about our efforts to develop a master plan in the Moody Centre TOD area in Port Moody. Before Katie jumps in to provide you with a bit of detail about the master plan, I will quickly share a bit with you about the process so far and why we're here today. So in 2017, the City of Port Moody adopted an area plan for the Moody Centre SkyTrain station area as part of their official community plan. The area plan encouraged higher density development focused around the newly built Evergreen Line. Following the adoption of the new area plan, the landowners within the Moody Centre transit-orientated development, also known as a TOD area, were encouraged to come together to develop an overall master plan that would create a functioning neighbourhood plan that would also deliver on a range of desired community amenities outlined throughout the OCP process. So we started our public engagement on this project in the fall of last year. And since then, we've hosted 2 rounds of public open houses and a series of smaller working groups to try and refine this concept before a formal submission to the City of Port Moody. As part of these efforts, we're actively trying to engage with a range of demographics currently in the community, but also those who may want to call Port Moody home in the future. So, given your society's mandate and your younger membership demographic, we're very pleased today to meet with you and to share our concept and also to hear a bit of your feedback on our master plan. So without further ado, I'll pass along to Katie to share a bit more about the master plan itself. And then after her presentation, we can open it up for some questions and to hear some of your feedback.
Thanks, Zoe. Do you mind flipping to the next slide?
Yep, there you go.
Thank you. So Zoe touched on this a little bit, and sorry if I'm repeating things you guys may already be a little bit aware of. But typically, transit-oriented development area, or TOD area, is the immediate area focused around transit stations, fairly self-explanatory. And really the goal with these TOD areas is to create those compact, walkable, vibrant communities that are located within quick access to transit. What's unique about this one in Port Moody is that after the city kind of presented their initial policy plan back in 2017, we've had the unique opportunity here where several of the landowners across the entire neighborhood are all at the table at the same time, which is very unusual when it comes to area of this scale. And it's even more unusual in this case as it is a combination of both public and private landowners. So there are several private developers like BD who are involved in this project, but there's also public entities like TransLink and the Provincial Transit Financing Authority, who also own land here, as well as the City of Port Moody. And so we're all trying to come together and take the vision that was presented in 2017 and bring it to life collectively, which is complex, but pretty unique here and gives us a special opportunity. Do you want to jump to the next slide, Zoe?
Yeah, there you go.
So this was the initial vision that Port Moody put forward in 2017, which is fairly typical for a policy vision like this. They're typically very high level, giving direction when it comes to land uses across the neighborhood. In this case, they also had several specific amenities that they were interested in having delivered, which for the City of Port Moody includes daylighting a creek that currently exists underground in the neighborhood, pedestrian crossing that would allow this area to be connected to the waterfront and Rocky Point Park, and just generally direction to help create a vibrant, walkable neighborhood. So obviously this is very high level, and it takes a fair amount of work to take something like this and refine it into a detailed vision that can form the basis of an application to the city of Port Moody. And that's what we're working on here, trying to drive at the tenets of policy that they would like to see captured here. Jump to the next slide. So as Zoe mentioned, we've been consulting with the city of Port Moody and its residents for the last, probably coming up on 2 years here, with a variety of groups and residents across the board, and have iterated our evolving concept a few times to ensure that it's capturing feedback that we've received from the community, including groups such as yourselves. So we're keen to hear your thoughts here. I think one of the key tenets that the city of Port Moody wants is that they want to see this become a new source of job growth for them in the neighborhood. But I think we all know that it's important in attracting those tenants to make sure that you're creating the vibrancy and the 24/7 kind of neighborhood energy that makes them attractive and makes Port Moody competitive with the likes of Coquitlam City Centre or a metro town or even downtown Vancouver, in order to, attract jobs or potential institutions and things like that, as well as providing neighborhood serving retail that'll meet the needs of Port Moody's residents and visitors. I'll jump to the next slide. So across the neighborhood, we're delivering on a number of amenities, including several that were raised by the city of Port Moody in their 2017 policy, as well as several additional opportunities that we see as part of this neighborhood that are, some of them are uniquely available to us only because there are several of the landowners at the table. But this includes the Daylit Creek Transit Plaza, which will connect to the pedestrian overpass into Rocky Point Park. We're expecting to be able to deliver almost 1,400 jobs, as well as a diverse mix of housing, which is going to include rental housing, affordable housing, hopefully some more creative housing tenures like rent to own and stuff like that, as well as condos. In addition to drastically upgrading the infrastructure in this neighborhood, because it is currently basically dilapidated industrial warehouses and really does have a great deal of potential, but needs some substantial upgrades to its infrastructure in order to support the vision that we and Port Moody have for the community. Next slide. So these are here just to give you guys a little bit of a sense of the vision that we hope to create in the neighborhood, bringing in the green areas, daylighting the creek, and creating these really walkable, vibrant spaces, focusing on the pedestrian experience just as much, if not more so, than the towers themselves and the condos and affordable housing themselves. Next slide. Zoe, next slide.
I'm on the Transit Plaza slide.
Oh, it's not showing up on this side.
Is it showing now?
No. Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry. So this is a rendering that we've created of the Transit Plaza we also hope to deliver, which is really about creating vibrant public space. So overlapping a variety of uses, whether that's employment, retail, housing, green space, and integrating public art into this sort of public space. There really isn't a place right now other than Rocky Point Park for people to gather in proximity like this to the station. Please feel free to add anything I may be missing, Zoe.
Yeah. So if that's the end of your formal presentation, Katie, we might open it up to the students for questions and feedback.
Sure.
Okay. So we just kind of came up with a few questions to try and get the discussion going here about our very high-level presentation on the master plan. As I said at the beginning, we are trying to engage with as many people as possible with a different range of demographics. So we are very interested to hear your thoughts, preliminary thoughts even on our master plan concept.
Or any questions you've got for us as well.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry. What's the commute time from that neighborhood to SFU, if you guys know off the top of your head?
Ooh.
I actually don't know that.
All good, thank you.
Yeah.
I can definitely look it up though. Being right on the train station there, what is the closest?
It looks like about 10 minutes by bus.
There you go.
Or 20 minutes by bus, sorry. 10 minutes by car. Yeah.
I saw a part about affordable housing. How do you know how are you defining affordable, and what's the price range for those 400 affordable housing? And I see that it's affordable 400 out of the 3,000 or 2,300 is affordable.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really, really great question. So I think we're including a variety of definitions across the entire neighborhood because it is quite large. And so affordable housing will take many different varieties here. We will have everything from deeply subsidized affordable housing to more kind of mid-market opportunities, as well as rental housing. So things that might allow like a rent-to-own program that would allow people to get into the market for in a more affordable way. We're going to try and make it as diverse as possible. So we're not just serving two ends of the spectrum, but we're really serving the breadth of housing needs here. If there's particular housing types and tenures that you guys are interested in, would like to see here, we're really interested in that feedback because I think that often gets a little bit lost.
Right. I'm aware of like some of the non-profit housing done by like that's been approved by Vancouver City, where it's more they engage a lot of the like indigenous and black communities, and to try and make sure that there is that type of subsidized housing and stuff in the new project that coming up. So I'm elated to see how, especially with the second question, what does successful inclusive community mean to you, is like working with these various community groups to make sure that you have rental housing and very, very affordable housing through subsidized means, especially when it's being approved by the city. So when's the timeline looking like, or that you're aiming for, especially with this whole COVID?
Yes, also a good question. So because of the scale of the neighborhood, the point we're at now is that we're hoping to take all of the feedback we've received from our engagements over the past 1.5 to 2 years and actually compile them into a formal application that we can make to the city. This is not necessarily your typical detailed rezoning application or development application. This is what's called an OCP amendment. So it's taking the vision that Port Moody put forward in 2017 and amending the language that was behind that to add more detail and make sure that it accurately reflects what we're putting forward. So that process in and of itself can probably take at least a year before, and a lot of consultation before we actually put formal applications in. And I think you'd see the neighborhood developed in phases. So not all of the buildings would come at once. They would probably be delivered, over the course of 15 to 20, even longer, 20 years.
Okay, sweet.
I just have a question. My question, like I saw briefly some things about bike connections and overpass. I'm wondering if there's going to be bike lanes throughout.
Yes, there will be. There's a plan in place with the city of Port Moody that dictates routes through this area for bike paths. And one of our focuses for Spring Street, which is kind of the street that runs through the middle of the neighborhood right now, is to make sure that it is pedestrian and bike oriented first. It will require some access for cars simply because there's, properties back there that will need some access, but the goal is to make that priority pedestrian and bike oriented. So there will be bike paths through there and making that the priority.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the master plan specifically? Well, the other thing we were quite interested to hear about is, you're the first group that we are specifically engaging of a younger demographic. So, but we're really interested to hear from more young people like yourselves about what would be really great in this community. So, are there any ideas out there of how maybe young people want to be engaged on a project like this?
I know the Faculty of Environment at our school is actually adding a planning major now. I think it was supposed to be implemented in the fall. I'm not sure if it was pushed back, but maybe reaching out to the faculty and talking about that, because there's a lot of students who are going into that major for the first time and are maybe really interested in looking at how the process develops.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great idea.
And I know that there's some like urban planning designation at the master's level as well. But like I think towards the question that you asked, it's just more reaching out like this and keeping people in the process. Especially when it comes to actually getting the application. Because what we see sometimes is that people do presentations and stuff. But when we do get the zoning, then the consultation goes down a bit. we want to keep that up even after the project gets in, and not just like force it through. Just keep an inclusive, collaborative kind of relationship.
Absolutely, we'd like that too.
Exactly.
One way you could. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on. Yep.
Oh yeah. So I actually live in Port Moody myself, and I think that one way you could get more people involved in the and putting their input into the master plan is that I know that there's a really strong community feel within here. So there's a lot of like Facebook groups. Like I know I'm in one with 4,000 other members. It's like called the Port Moody discussion group. Yeah. And I think that would be, I don't know if you guys have already like are aware of that, but like getting input in there. And there's a lot of young people in that group as well. So that would be a place to look at.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know that's quite active. I've heard about that as well. So that's a great suggestion as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I have a question just as a Port Moody resident yourself. Have you heard about this process so far? I know we've been doing a lot of engagement in the community. I'm just curious to see how far reaching it is.
No, I personally haven't. And I would like to say that I feel like I'm a very informed Port Moody person. I'm like super involved in all like the discussion groups and like the support COVID Tri-Cities group as well. And no, I haven't heard of it. So
interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Well, we have for yourself, but for everybody on the call, we've created a project website, which kind of documents the process so far and what the concept, I should say, looks like itself. So feel free to check it out. I've put it at the end of the page here, and we have a mailing list as well if you want to sign up to get updates. But going forward, we'll certainly reach out to your board again every time we have more public engagement forums, because we'd absolutely love your input going forward as well. Okay.
Is there anything you guys often wish you see realized for yourselves in new communities like this? Nope.
Hi, Zoe. Is Sylvia. Hi, Katie. How are you? Just to ask a question about have you guys met or reached out to Heidi Mandrell? She is the vice president of the Port Moody Foundation and has a great deal of influence in the Port Moody area.
Yeah, we know Heidi quite well. Yeah, she's a fantastic leader for the community. So we've actually been speaking with the foundation from the very beginning, and they have been involved both in the public open houses, but also our smaller roundtable discussions. And we're pretty fantastic in terms of shaping the early concept and helping it to become what it is today. But any other suggestions like that as well would be fantastic. We just basically want to talk to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sylvia. So I'm conscious you guys have a busy agenda, so I don't want to take any more time than we need to. If there's any other questions, we can certainly answer them now. If you think of them later, we are all ears. I've given my email address to the group, so feel free to reach out anytime. Yeah, and we'll be sure to keep you up to date as we move forward.
Sweet. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thanks.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
No worries.
All right, we'll just log off now.
Okay, so we have a presentation also from SFE Surge. Nick, you can speak to this and then invite the folks.
Hi. Yeah, this is one of my club within Faculty of Applied Science, wanting to throw a hackathon. They need some money from us, so a little presentation, keep us all up to date on what they're doing and everything. So
cool.
Hello.
I'm so sorry. How do I leave the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
There's a button under the bottom, the red button. But you're invited to stay if you can. But it's fine, joking. Yeah, there's a red button at the bottom, and it says leave call.
Wonderful. So sorry. Thanks
Yeah,
for the
no worries.
time.
Sweet. Hello?
Yeah, hi. Hello. Sorry, I was waiting for Zoe to finish up there. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. And I was going to thank Zoe, but I guess she's already left. Yeah, this is a presentation on behalf of SFE Surge. I'm here with Vivian Wong, who's our Director of Logistics, to talk to you guys a little bit about StormHacks 2020, which is a hackathon that we have been planning for a little bit. I've sent a link to our presentation in the chat if you guys wanted to follow along. I see a lot of you are there already. So we're just going to launch right in, if there's no questions.
Yeah, sweet. Go ahead.
Okay, for sure. So again, to reiterate, my name is Halal. I'm the founder and co-president of SFU Surge, which is a brand new technology club at SFU.
Hello, I'm Vivian. I'm one of the co-director of logistics.
And for today's pitch, we wanted to talk to you guys about like a little bit of an agenda really quick is the purpose of Surge and what our vision is as a club, StormHacks as an event, why we think that we could run this event quite successfully, and then finally we want to talk about our ask of the board in terms of money. So to talk to you a little bit about SFU Surge, for those of you who haven't heard already, we started in summer of 2019, and the aim has always been to bring industry opportunity and enablement to students, and so we want to do this in the form of talks, workshops, and other sorts of events, plenty of which have already been very successful and we've seen very high turnout for. So we have 400 plus registered members currently under the SFSS, and we've seen different groups of students attending all of our events, and so it's great to see how much of a reach we've had. So that's just a little bit on Surge and our track record so far. We're just about to hit our first year of completion, and we're really excited about it. So for those of you who who are not in tech, I want to talk to you a little bit about what a hackathon is. Or sorry, Vivian's going to talk about what a hackathon is.
Thank you all. So yeah, I'm going to touch base a little bit on what hackathons are. So with SFU Surge, a huge mission pillar that we have is to create events annually in the form of a hackathon. So for those who don't know, hackathons are a 24-hour coding competition. And coming in as a health science student myself, I really didn't know much what a hackathon was, but basically how I define a hackathon, it's basically a bunch of hackers and geeks. They all come together in a room for a very long time, and they try to solve and create new emerging applications or ideas for possible current problems. With our hackathon, we want to really open up with diverse teams. So we want to involve many faculties, not just the current faculties, but look at business, science, environment, education, and so forth. And with this hackathon, we want to invite hundreds of students to be able to connect with industry sponsors and possible recruitment for their future employments. Lots of major schools in Canada, such as UBC, UT, and University of Waterloo, do have a lot of their own well-known hackathons. And we just believe this is the right time for our club to kind of host one. So just touching base really quickly on the types or the different hackathons that did happen around Canada. So we have AutoHack, ConU Hacks, Hack Western, Hack the North, and of course NW Hacks. So touching on NW Hacks really quickly, it's the largest in North America's hackathon, which is held at UBC, and we as SFU students, we kind of just wanted to create our own hackathon, create a bigger presence than them, and have more opportunities. Sorry, I will answer the Major League hacking question in just 1 second. But so with this in mind, the current hackathon that we are planning is Storm Hacks, and our discussion has been with SFU Recreation for the past few months. And again, our hackathon is really to just put SFU on the map to be recognized by the largest tech companies, and re-emphasizing the importance of connecting different faculties to have the opportunity to connect with industry professionals. So touching base on the MLH question, which is Major League Hacking, a company that just manages all the hackathons. We will be working closely with them as they will be one of our sponsors and kind of mentors in the entire process. But ultimately, SFU will be working separately from MLH. Sorry. And I will move it on to Halal.
Thank you, Vivian. So just to touch a little bit more on MLH as well, for those of you who don't know, MLH they set the standard. So it's sort of the gold standard for hackathons. They have a global hacking community, and so you can have a hackathon independent of MLH, but signing on with MLH makes you part of the association, and so you get to have that whole community factor built in, which is really important to SFU Surge. And it also is a big factor that goes into hackathons is that community, which is why we'd be partnering with Major League Hacking. They provide a support in terms of how to plan the event and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, moving on within the slide deck, compared to existing hackathons at SFU, you guys might have heard of Systems Hacks. Systems Hacks is one that the Software System Student Society runs every year. I had the pleasure of running that last year, and we cap out at 200 participants for that one because of the capacity problems at SFU Surrey. And I even when I ran Systems Hacks, I wanted it to be bigger and better, but under the umbrella of the Software System Student Society, it didn't make sense for us to move towards a bigger hackathon, which is why we're doing it under Storm Hacks. Also, Lumo Hacks is another one that SFU runs. It's been greatly successful. I don't believe it ran the last year, though. That is also a Major League Hacking run event, and they're focused on mental health, but we want to branch out a little bit more and have a larger and more comprehensive hackathon. And we're focusing on the student and the hacker experience as well. So making sure hackers are getting a lot out of it in the form of workshops, in the form of events, in the form of the companies we invite and recruitment opportunities. So taking a little bit of a shift from that, I want to talk about SFU Surge's progress so far in planning Storm Hacks. So we've already invested months and months of time and effort into this hackathon because We've had to deal with some date changes because of problems that have come up with venues. So this hackathon has been a long time coming. We've already spent a lot of time researching the need for a hackathon, what works well, what doesn't, in external relations, so what companies we want to sponsor our event, as well as venues. And again, as Vivian already mentioned, we've spoken to SFU Rec already about spaces, and we have numbers from them as well. We have most of our branding solidified in terms of how we're going to market this. And we've already had conversations with MLH in terms of what our next steps are in order to get this MLH certified. And to talk about a little bit about why, as we think SFU Surge can run this hackathon and run it quite well, is again, I want to touch on my experience with planning systems hacks for 2 years, as well as so much of the team is interdisciplinary, and they are all hackathon goers, and plenty of us have won hackathons. In fact, a team built up of Surge students just won NW Hacks. We won second prize there. So we have a lot of experience with hackathons, both organizing and attending. Again, we have a very diverse executive team, so we really bring a lot of perspectives, and we have the correct organizational structure as well. We function within teams such as external relations, financial, logistics, marketing, and we think that's the correct way to approach a hackathon to make sure everything runs smoothly. Between all of us, we have dozens of years of event organization experience, and we already have a huge following just within the students that already attend our events. To talk a bit about expenses that go into a hackathon, by far the largest two are the actual space and venue, and then also the food. Sorry, was there a question? Okay, sorry, carrying on. And then as well as security, marketing, and merchandise, those make up some of the smaller but still significant costs that go into a hackathon. Sources of revenue we'd be looking at would be sponsors, so reaching out to sponsors with a sponsorship package that we will be amending, and asking them to sponsor in the either in kind or monetary, as well as the Faculty of Applied Sciences, who we will be reaching out to as well in terms of the funding that they give out for student clubs, and the SFSS, which is our pitch right now to the board, asking you guys for compensation. Our budget, so something that me and Vivian have been working on, we do have a quite in-depth budget, but given current changing circumstances, we have to amend that even farther, and so that one's not quite ready. So this is quite a rough estimate, but we'd be happy to get the board the updated budget as soon as possible. Vivian, would you like to speak to the budget a little bit?
Yeah, so just looking at the three kind of sectors that we have on screen right now, our venue is $10,000, and at the moment, the discussion with SFU Rec, this is kind of like the ballpark that both parties are trying to minimize, and we will be trying to bring this cost down. But for the club's like first experience in handling this, we want to just make sure that we're going in safe than sorry. Secondly, our food budget is kind of costly with $15,000 with SFU catering. So we are planning to have 400 students participate, and with this cost, each student will be roughly $50. This will include 5 meals, snacks, and merchandise. And adding to that merchandise of $2,000, it will go mostly towards lanyards, t-shirts, and other miscellaneous things that we'll be needing. So hello, do you want to kind of talk about how much we're asking?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm sure many of you skipped ahead to the slide with our ask on it. Our ask for this hackathon of the board is $20,000. So to break this down a little bit more, this would mean that the board would be paying for $50 per student in terms of our ask. I want to talk a little bit about, Vivian already mentioned it, but in terms of this being our first event, as you can see clearly from the previous slide, $20,000 is not going to cover the entire expense of a hackathon for 400 people, and we understand that. And we're not trying to make money off of this event. Our goal is to break even. And so we understand that any money that the board cannot give to us and we cannot get from the SFSS, we are responsible for fundraising that ourselves, whether that's in terms of sponsorship or, asking our faculty or whatever. And so this number is definitely up for negotiation, but we just want to be mindful of the fact that if this number is to go lower, then it puts a lot more stress on us to try to make up that money a different way, which I mean, totally granted, but we are trying to play it better safe here. And so we want to make sure we can break even with as minimal risk as possible. So our ask is again $20,000, which comes down to $50 per student from the SFSS side. And yeah, that is our final ask of you guys, which, well, not final, pardon me, that's open to negotiation, and we want it to be more of a discussion as well. If there's no notes on that, Vivian, I think I'm going to move on to the final slide.
Yeah, that sounds good. I just want to add that because this is our first hackathon and the discussions we had with SFU Rec, this is like the first time SFU Rec is seeing something like this coming into their space. And we are talking about possible long-term relationships, and they're very open and willing with our proposal right now.
Yeah, so that we're hoping actually brings our cost down more as well, given if we can work it into some sort of sponsorship, but unfortunately that's not promised at this time. But that is just some good news looking forward. In terms of COVID-19, we understand the impacts this has. I want to mention that this event was initially meant to happen in September, but we understand that that's not feasible any longer. And so what we've done is moved the event currently to November. We're thinking around the last weekend of November, but we understand that the situation might not have died down at that point. And also, if we are reaching out to sponsors, we would have to do that earlier than November, and the situation might not be appropriate to ask at that time, and we're well aware of that. And so November is tentative, but we're also considering a February date. And that will be a decision that we make in the next 2 months. And at that point, we'd be able to amend it, but currently we're looking very heavily at November because we have a lot of input from other Canadian hackathon organizers in a large community chat that we're in, that would be a good move. So that's been our pitch. I would love to answer any questions that the board might have, or open up a discussion around our ask, or the need for a hackathon like this or anything like that. Thank you so much for your time, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot for the presentation. Is there any discussion or any questions from the folks at the board? Thanks.
Yeah, I have a question. How much was System Hacks in Surrey? Like, how much did that cost?
Oh, sorry, good question. I don't have the number off the top of my head. I will pull. Actually, I don't think I still have access to that. That's my bad. But I will say that the Systems Hacks is significantly less expensive because it is not a 24-hour hackathon; it's a 12-hour hackathon. So we have to pay less than half for our venue as well as food, because we're not providing as many meals, and also it's half our size as well, and so we're also paying way less for that size. So I remember it being a significantly smaller number than this, maybe like a fourth of what we're asking.
Any other questions?
I have a question as well. Thank you guys for the presentation. You mentioned that there was a more detailed budget in the works. Do you know by any chance when we would have a chance to look at that? I think I would feel more comfortable considering this motion after having seen a more detailed budget.
Completely understood. I would, again, our budget is more or less done, but I'm comfortable sending it because it's built for a different venue. We can have it done within the next 4 days. So I'm gonna say by the 20th, we can have it completed for sure.
How many people are you expecting to come again? Just based on the last one?
400 people.
400.
And they would all be hosted in the central gym.
Okay, and all other venues, the other venues around campus, well, you've decided on this venue and locked in with Rec already, right? Basically.
Yeah, we've decided on this venue because it's the one big open space we can find.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Like from folks on the board?
Any questions around? Oh, sorry, Giovanni. I meant like any questions around the nature of a hackathon or like what it can bring to SFU. I'd be happy to answer that as well if anybody's not familiar.
Okay. Any other questions, folks on the board? Just jump in.
Oh, are you charging for this hackathon, or is it going to be free for our students?
Thanks for asking, Jennifer. So we are focused on accessibility and community. For that reason, we're not charging. And also under MLH's guidelines, we are not allowed to charge for an event. Again, due to the same reasons of accessibility and community, we don't want to impose a charge on the students who want to attend. And also hackathons notoriously don't charge. I believe a couple do, but they're known to be accessible spaces.
Okay.
So,
is there no? Okay, Nick.
Yeah, hold on. You'll have a detailed budget breakdown within a few days, right?
Yeah, by the 20th.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how this process works, but.
So should we be postponing till like next board meeting then, so we can see that first? Ask question to the board, actually.
So that will come at the because there's still consideration of the motion, but this was regarding the presentation.
Right. Okay.
So Hilal, just for clarity, you're presenting now, but there's a motion on the table that people will discuss the merits of the motion later on, so you can stay for then. But it seems as if the questions have been dried up in terms of from the board itself. Does anybody else have any other question? Okay, sweet. Thank you
Sorry,
so much.
Giovanni, I couldn't unmute myself. This is Sylvia. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around what has just been presented, and thank you for your presentation. My question is, sorry, and for those of you who may not know me, I'm the executive director of SFSS. So in your presentation, you state that you are going to seek sponsors and so on for the event. Will those be in-kind sponsor or monetary sponsors? Because if they're monetary sponsor, then I guess your ask of SFSS would go proportionally down with what you get. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, so we will be expecting both in-kind and monetary, but just from personal experience, we tend to get a lot more monetary than we do in-kind. And monetary, that being said though, because it's our first hackathon, and given that we don't have much of like a record of hackathons, given that it's Storm Hack's first iteration, we're not too hopeful that we will be able to charge a lot of sponsors to come to the events, which is why we don't think that the number will go down much more with monetary, if that makes sense, because we're sure that the companies will be a little bit reluctant to shell out a ton of money for us because we're not, again, established.
Okay, thank you.
And any help from the board or the SFSS in general on reaching out to sponsors would be greatly appreciated, because I'm sure that could mitigate the cost on your part as well. And also, I mean, it seems that the board would be a lot more comfortable with a budget, which I completely understand and agree with. So if this is something that you guys would like to be decided at a future meeting, I would prefer that as well, just so you guys can make a more informed decision. Let me know. I'm not sure how that works with the policies, Gio.
Yeah, so basically we have a motion on the table and we'll discuss around what exactly we're going to do when the motion comes, and I believe that those concerns will be shared then. But this is mostly around the presentation itself, so please stay tuned if you can.
Okay, for sure. Great. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, sweet. Thank you so much, Hilal and company. I am really happy that you bringing forward is Vivian, right? Vivian?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, Vivian and Hilal. I've seen the work that you are doing on campus, and I really commend the job. And good luck on everything. We'll be talking more in this meeting and future times as well. So, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda quickly and then stick around a bit. Sweet, thanks. Okay, so where is this meeting? Okay, so we have 8.1 motion. So we're now into new business. Just so in case that people don't have the agenda, let me just send it here so that people have an opportunity to talk. Yeah, so we have accessibility standard policy, motion 8.1. So I'm going to read the motion. I need to move on a second. Whereas this policy has been drafted, whereas students with disabilities on the Accessibility Fund Advisory Committee have recommended the policy, be resolved to approve the accessibility standard policy, be resolved to approve amendments to this policy as outlined, and be resolved to publish this policy on the SFSS website under the policies page. Can I have a mover for that motion? Jennifer, can I have a seconder? Rehan, discussion. Jen?
Yeah, so I sent out a document a while ago because this was a discussion item for the last meeting, but just to go over it again, they're highlighted. You can see some changes that I've made because of suggestions from students with disabilities. This part about the accessibility worker is going to be the motion after is 8.4. Yeah, so this also, it's important to note that this policy has a coming into force date of 1 year, meaning that we have a year to basically get the appendices together and everything. Not all the appendices are finalized, but that's why I'm hoping for an accessibility designated assistant, because that person can help everyone with those things. Also, because of COVID-19, I know things might be a little delayed, but most of these things I believe can be worked on remotely. So I left the coming into force 1 year like as is. Let me know if anyone has any more questions.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. For me, I am wholeheartedly in support of this. This is something that has been on the table since October, November, and I know that you have sent out, or the board member, Jennifer, has sent out some communication regarding this. So I just wanted to say I'm in support, and I think this will go a long way in making the SFSS more accessible, especially for people with accessibility needs. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, so seeing no more discussion and seeing if this seems as if it can go into a vote on unanimous consent. If there's anybody that wants to do a contested vote, just please unmute. But seeing no more discussion on the motion, I'll move to a vote. I'm seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Please unmute if otherwise. Seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. So we move on to motion 8.2. FIC COVID emergency bursary using FIC revenue. Whereas FIC students pay SFSS fees, resulting in a revenue of $355,911 as per financial report as at March 31, 2020, be resolved to contribute $60,000 to the SFSS COVID-19 emergency bursary specifically for FIC students. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors through the Executive Director continue to work with SFU to contribute to the COVID-19 emergency fund. I believe that there is some amendments that's supposed to be made here based on the conversation we had, Jennifer. But can I, however, move on 8.2 as is? Julian, any seconder? Jennifer. So Julian move, Jennifer second. Julian move, Jennifer second. Can I have discussion on the motion? Jen. So, yeah, can I have discussion? Any discussion on the motion? People comment, suggestion, move for comment, suggestion, in favor, against? Can I have some discussion?
Giovanni, can I say something, please?
Yes, sure.
So can I ask a question of clarification?
Okay.
Because the FIC is a completely separate
right. That's one of the.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That's a motion I'm going to move soon. To remove that language. I think Jennifer had sent a note. But if we have anybody speaking on the motion from the board, Anybody speaking on the motion from the board, please?
I can speak on that. I just think that because FIC students pay SFSS fees, they should get some sort of funding, emergency COVID-19 funding from us because they pay SFSS fees. So I feel like it's only fair if we support them.
Okay. Any other discussion on the board table, please? Okay, sweet. I will move to amend. What's up?
Nothing. I was just going to say that I'm also in favor of this motion, considering a lot of the financial aid that's been coming through has not been available to international students, which FIC students make up a pretty big portion of. So.
Okay. May I, if the board is agreeable, I will move to amend the motion currently from be it resolved to that the board of directors to continue to work with SFU to be it resolved, be it further resolved that SFSS board of directors through the executive director work with FIC to contribute to the an FIC SFSS COVID emergency fund. So that is going to be sent in the chat right now. And let me know if you're agreeable, Jennifer, or the folks who moved this motion, or I guess Julian moved it. So that is what it will read. So my motion just strikes SFU to FIC and strikes no. Yes, Sylvia. It's going ours is the current one is going to FI international students as well, but she's talking the government fund. Yeah, so that's the motion. Can I have a second for my motion? Jennifer? Seeing no well, is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none? We'll move to a vote, seeking unanimous consent on the motion, on the amendment. Motion is carried unanimously. Back to the main motion. So the main motion reads as written. Work with FRC to contribute to FRC SFSS COVID-19 emergency fund. And can I see, is there any more discussion on the matter? I don't want to go to a contest. Okay, so all in favor of the motion, please indicate by are people here for a vote? Or are we more comfortable going unanimous, seeking unanimous consent? Because I'm not sure based on the discussion I would do any. I need more. Okay. Okay, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. But before that, can people just unmute if you're here, just by any chance? Not board members, please. Ryan, you can unmute again. Okay. All right, sweet. I'm seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing if there is any opposition to this, just please indicate by unmuting. So seeking unanimous consent and seeing no unmuting being indicated, the motion is also carried unanimously. So we now have motion 8.3, SFU Surge Hackathon. Be resolved to grant up to 15,000 to SFU Surge for Storm Hacks 2020. May I have a mover of the motion? Moving and seconding the motion is not voting, so just we need a mover and a seconder. So can I have a mover for the motion? Nick, can I have a seconder? Jennifer? Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah. So I think we should table this until next meeting so we can have the revised budget from Surge.
Okay. Is there So are you moving to postpone?
Yeah, I'll move to postpone.
Okay, sweet. So Nick moves to postpone the motion as is. Any second? Rehan? Do we have any discussion on the postponement? No, see no discussion on the postponement motion. We'll move to a vote. So the motion is now a motion to postpone. Can we have a discussion on that? So basically, in spirit, I support in principle this hackathon. I just think on my side, I have to get a little bit more details in terms of budgeting, and I think seeing what can be done regarding the venue and bringing down some of the costs can also bring down some of the contribution that we make as a board as well, as well as to try and help with some sponsorship stuff. So please be in contact. Nick, please work with Sylvia as well to within now and the next time that it comes to see if we can set up a proper meeting. If the board is agreeable to that, to have our, I'm sure we are, ED engage in that conversation. But I think we should definitely have more information coming into the next meeting, so that we can properly vote on this. I'll be calling a short notice meeting on the 22nd. For another purpose, but there will be a motion, there will be a meeting on the 29th as well, under this budget. So under this year's budget, so under this board term. So but please do some preliminary work until then, please, and fill me in when you have. Okay, sweet. So we move to a vote on the postponement. All in favor of seeking unanimous consent on the postponement. If there's any opposition, please just Nick, are you opposing your postponement?
Oh, no. I just had it.
Okay, so seeking unanimous consent on that. Motion postponed. So this will come back as old business in a future meeting. 8.4 accessibility assistant. So there is a typo here, but whereas the board is supposed to be approved, but whereas the board approved the accessibility standard policy, whereas an accessibility assistant can help develop resources outlined in the policy and its appendices, we resolve that the SFSS board of directors endorse and budget for the hiring of a designated accessibility assistant. Be it further resolved that the executive director work with disabled students on campus as well as an organization representing representing disabled students such as the Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance to establish a job description and work to create a hiring committee. Can I have a mover of the motion? Mover of the motion, please. Emily moves. Any seconder for the motion? Julian. So Emily moves and Julian seconded. Can we have a discussion? Jennifer, I believe you have an amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the policy or the motion. Should I copy paste it or read it out loud?
Copy paste it and read it out loud.
Okay, 1 second. It won't let me copy paste the whole thing, so I have to do 2 separate messages.
That's
okay,
fine.
So whereas the board approved the accessibility standard policy, whereas an accessibility assistant can help develop resources outlined in the policy and its appendices, be it resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors endorse and budget through the Accessibility Fund for the hiring of a designated Okay, hold on, I might have to. Be it resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors endorse and budget through the Accessibility Fund for the hiring of an accessibility designated assistant under the Campaigns Research and Policy Department. Be it further resolved that the executive director and the union worked with disabled students on campus as well as organizations representing disabled students such as the Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance to establish a job description and work to create a hiring committee.
If you may, is it possible that you say designated accessibility assistant as opposed to accessibility designated assistant?
In the brief, no, I think.
Okay, whichever is fine. I'm offering that. Okay. So you move. Can I have a second before we go to discussion? Julian seconds. Now we're in discussion on the amendment. Do we have any discussion on the amendment? Okay, see none.
Sorry, Giovanni, can I just clarify something, please?
On the amendment, on this amendment.
On
Okay.
this amendment, yeah. I'm a tad confused about the second, be it resolved that the executive director and the union work with. I cannot dictate what the union does, and neither can you as a board. So you can only tell me that what you would like to see happen, and obviously I make it happen in a way that it is about, prudent, following process, yada yada. So, and seeing as it is a designated assistant, there is no other choice but us to work with the union in order to have a hiring committee. Job description, however, is normally and generally in practice put together by us, and we can consult obviously with the students, the disabled students, to make sure that we are capturing what's needed. But I would suggest that if you are open to a friendly amendment, which I cannot make, but I'm just saying that as it stands right now.
How about what I just put in the chat? So the executive director work with the union and disabled students as well as organization to establish a job description and work to create a hiring committee. Or
I have no choice but to work with the union because it is a unionized position. So
okay, sure.
I don't know, that I'm just saying that there is no choice for me but to work with the established processes, and the union is one of them.
Okay, so look at the what I have right now, based in, and if Jennifer is agreeable, this can be something.
Yeah, so by work with, that could encapsulate everything from like consultation.
Yeah, so disabled students on campus as well as represented disabled students such as organization, blah blah blah, which sums up the fact that you still have, as the employer, we have to work with the collective agreement and can't break the collective agreement. So so basically just taking out the section that that includes the union, because that has to be done anyways. So with that being said, are you agreeable to that? And we'll just take that as the amendment that you made instead. Just for that last or second to last be resolved. So the motion as is would read, as in your amendment would read, if you're agreeable. I need to hear you say that you're agreeable for us to go forward. And then the last part that you made. Hello. Hello. Yeah, Jennifer, I need to hear you. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to Sylvia. Yeah, I copy pasted the entire motion. It keeps cutting off some parts of it. But do you want me to read the whole motion again?
No, I'm just saying if you're agreeable, so we don't need to read it. Well, you moved and seconded, and you made a slight change, so we have to just to so Emily moved and Julian seconded the amendment. Who moved this amendment? The amendment itself. Julie, you moved the amendment? Okay, so we need a seconder for the amendment still. Basically, what we just did was make a friendly amendment after we moved and seconded. However, we need to still we need to make sure that the people who seconded, if I don't remember who moved it, but whoever was the person that did it and seconded this have to be agreeable to the fact that the motion changed, which I hope that we are. Jennifer moved the amendment. Okay, who seconded the amendment? It was Julian, right? Yeah, so okay, that's fine. So with that being said, we will move to a vote on the amendment, and I will just seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent on the motion. If no opposition, seeing none, the amendment is carried, and now we're back to the main motion. so whereas the board approved the accessibility standard policy, whereas an accessibility assistant can develop resources outlined in the policy and its appendices, be resolved that the SFSS board of directors endorse and budget through the accessibility fund for the hiring of a designated assistant, accessibility designated assistant under the campaign's research and policy department. We further resolve that the executive director work with disabled students on campus, as well as the organization representing disabled students, such as the Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance, to establish a job description and work to create a hiring committee. The last motion that is sent has the error from the typo from the first one, but we already made the amendment with the proper one, so that's fine. Any discussion on the main as the motion as is? Okay. The discussion. So basically, I support this, and we'll move to a vote if no other person has any discussion. Okay. Seeing no discussion, we move to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. Thanks. All right, sweet. And now we have another motion that we need to pass. So I have another motion that I added to the agenda. So the motion is signing authorities 2020-21. So this is brought here because we just wanted some stuff to get out of the way currently, so that we can just have an easily and nice transition quickly. I am looking for the wording. Okay, so signing officers of signing authority up until the 30th. So I am moving, well, we have the agenda on the table, we have the motion on the table based on what I sent out and the fact that I looked it in. Here is the agenda, the item was read. Yeah, I'll break it up again because of Google Hangouts. That's a motion. So I would like to move the motion. So signing authorities 2020-2021. Be resolved that as per bylaw 4, powers, duties, and obligation of executive officers, Osab Mohammed, President, Matthew Provost, VP Student Services, Corbett Gildersleeve, VP Finance, and Gabe Leos, VP University Relations, be appointed as signing officers for the period of May 1st, 2020 until April 30, 2021. Be it further resolved that as per bylaw 6.11, powers, duties, and obligations of the Board of Directors, Sylvia Ciacero, Executive Director, and Alejandro Reyes, General Manager, be reappointed as signing officers effective May 1 to 2020. Can I have a move of the motion? A mover? Rehan, any seconder? Julian? Discussion. So basic. Thank you. So there was conversation around if Mark was supposed to be on this as well, because of the fact that he was working remotely. As Sylvia says that he lives remotely and is not useful. Sylvia, do you have anything to talk about this?
Yeah, actually, there was a conversation because signing checks physically he would not be able to do, but we are probably going to come to the board to change the process because we don't know how the COVID matter is, how long the COVID matter is going to go on. So we may have to move to a electronic signatures for things. So I am going to suggest that you please add him to the motion, because if
Could
we
that be
move,
done afterwards? Like in the, when we do get the electronic signature process in?
if you like, for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So seeing that we can do that afterwards. Okay. If there is any move, I move the seconded amendment time. If there is any discussion, seeing none. So this is just okay. So the discussion is basically that the board of directors have gotten, for candidates gotten elected over the last couple of weeks, and and for the other folks, I believe we have to consult the who was the second? I believe so. Julian and Rehan was either the mover and the seconder, right? I don't remember. I'm going to start noting them again. But Julian, I think you moved, and then okay, Julian seconded. But yeah, so basically the management support staff that have gotten the authority to sign is done on a year-to-year basis as well. So we're just approving that in this board term, or for this board term, so that the transition is smooth. Okay, we'll move to a vote. Seeing no question on this motion, does it have to say the end date in the second part of the motion as well?
Our plan is to change that because we're thinking that this team will be here for a while. So instead of changing managers, because it's so difficult, the process with Scotia to have the signing authorities change every year, we want to leave the managers without the end date.
But isn't that something that would isn't that something that would just be redone each time for the same managers to be done as well as a vote?
If we do not put an end date now, then we don't have to redo it for the managers next year, but we'll have to do it for the board members.
Yeah, but okay.
In other words, Giovanni, the managers are what offer the continuity for the organization, and once a year we change the board signatories. Because of the process being so onerous with the bank, it's best to keep the managers as the continuity.
Yeah, but isn't that the will of the next year, if they want to continue with the same persons, it would, if it's the same persons, it would still be those people on the signing authorities, right?
Right.
Just like
so for instance, if I wasn't to be with the organization as of June 15th, then the board would rescind my signing authority and would put in place whoever becomes the executive director, or if you have an executive director, and so on. So this offers a cleaner process, and you can always rescind it.
Okay. Okay. So not the end date, so May 1st, 2020. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. So seeking unanimous consent on the motion, as is, be resolved that the folks who were elected be resolved that as per bylaw 4, powers, duties, and obligations of the executive officers, also Mohammed, President, Matthew, Provost, Student Services, Corbett, Gildersleeve, VP Finance, and Gabe Leos, VP University Relations, be appointed as signing officers for the period May 1st, 2020 until April 30, 2021. Be further resolved that as per bylaw 6.1, board powers, duties, and obligations of Board Director Sylvia Ciacero, Executive Director, and Alejandro Reyes, General Manager, be reappointed as signing officers effective May 2020. Seeking unanimous seeing no discussion, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. If you are in opposition to this, please indicate otherwise. Yes, the Asa Mohammed is 1M. That's just a typo, so we don't really need an amendment of it, to be honest. Okay. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. All right, sweet. So we will move to another item, Discussion item, fiscal year budget draft, 2020-21. So is Rowena still here? So basically, we are moving this discussion. I'm going to be calling a meeting for the 22nd that everybody needs to be a part of, so that if there's any changes or anything that people have had suggestion or concern for on the 22nd, a budget will be presented, not voted on, and then on the 29th we vote on it. But essentially, COVID and other matters have kind of delayed the process than what we would have wanted to do. So Rowena and her team, as well as Sylvia, has been working assiduously to sort this out. I believe that the Finance and Audit Committee will be meeting this week to have a discussion first. It will be brought to the discussion on the 22nd, which that will be the only item on the agenda, as I will send out a deadline for tonight for agenda items. And then on the 29th, we have another meeting. But I think that is it. Is anybody? Oh, Rowena's here. Do you have anything to add, Rowena, Sylvia?
I just wanted to add that the Finance Committee is meeting on Friday, as you said. If there are any changes that they would like to see, that would happen immediately after the meeting and on Monday, so that the board can have the draft budget by Monday. So you have a couple of days to look at it and formulate your questions and so on, so we can have a fruitful discussion on the 22nd. Thank you.
Okay. Sweet. Rowena? Nothing? Okay, sweet. Yeah, thank you for that. So 9.2, we have a discussion item from Jennifer that was not on the agenda until recently. Jennifer, what was it?
It's the ongoing webcam exam issue. So I sent an email about this just before the meeting, and it has basically an outline of everything, but I'm sure you saw the emails that I CC'd board members on most of them, but basically a lot of students were concerned because professors were making them use webcams, which was very invasive, and not all students had webcams. So I sent a few emails to department chairs and then also to John Driver, the VP academic. So yesterday, I think they sent an email encouraging students and professors to basically like be nice to each other. But yeah, that's basically the most up-to-date thing that I have. The rest, more details can be found on the document that I sent out.
So I can add to this as well. As you know, we've successfully pushed for pass-fail options, and we're trying to advocate for grade optional finals and grade freezes through people like Jennifer and Colin Fowle and other student senators, as well as board members such as University Relations China as well. And this is just a repercussion of the SFU not recognizing the concerns that we brought at that time, whereas these measures are not being as was communicated by the John Driver, where they're supposed to be standing on the side of compassion and empathy. And our criticism being that this has to be a decision that is made from the top down in a time of crisis, because some professors will not be understanding. So said, so done. Some professors have been asking students to scan their rooms, and a lot of invasive stuff. So as a result, Jennifer, through her advocacy, has been emailing department chairs in each of the professors' departments. Here is the link. I made a post on Facebook regarding ensuring that students like flag us to tell us that they have that issue, and it turns out so many profs had or students had these issues, and most of them since then have been reversing their mandatory requirements for webcam. However, a lot of them have not, and as such, there are some concerning patterns that we saw. We saw people adding people on Facebook in response to these concerns being raised, or people being threatened with academic dishonesty. We see these things happen, and as the student advocates, as the persons who are here to make sure that students' rights are abridged, I think that these steps were very vital in making sure that not more of the people had their rights being trampled on when it comes to privacy and accessibility and stuff like that. So I wanted to comment on the record the work that Jennifer has been doing regarding this. It took a lot of time over the weekend. I had a call with the ombudsperson over the weekend as well, to see how we can get proper communication and some directions or directives from the John driver. He sent out an email yesterday. We think it's a good step to make students know their rights. However, it's still not as adequate when it comes to the privacy concerns that we're talking about. We've constantly emailed that this is something that they have to, or the university administration have to make sure that they plan accordingly regarding making sure that exams are more application based, so that open exams are not a or open exams are not a concern. You just have open examination, but a lot of profs went for the opposite. So yeah, that's the update on that. Since then, also we recognized some issues regarding withdrawal deadline being before some professors even talked about their examination. And as a result, the withdrawal extension deadline that we successfully got was not helpful to a lot of students because they don't even know their examination. So the Shina, the VP University Relations, have been also emailing with regards to that as well, to align our withdrawal deadline with, as you know, UBCs is after the examination period, and that's something that we should have done here and should be a part of the advocacy for the summer. Well, yeah, thank you, Jennifer, and for this work. Is there any other discussion? Has there been any other instances that you have seen that are not on the document? Please let us know accordingly and keep us in the loop. Cool. So we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is that's it. So we have guest Q&A. So the peak, are you here? And any other guests? Council liaison. Oh wow, council liaison report. I would like to amend the agenda before the guest Q&A. 30 minutes. I'll need 2/3 majority vote to do this. My apologies to the liaison, and the liaison did not flag it. The council liaison report the council report has been left off of the agenda because of my because we took it off for the last meeting because there was no report. But I believe that council had a meeting previously that needs to be reported on. So if I may move to amend the agenda as is to include the council report right after discussion items. I need 2/3 majority vote. May I have a seconder, please? Julian, thank you. Seeking unanimous consent on this motion. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried to include the report, and now is the time for the report. So liaison and Ryan.
Hi, sorry, I'm actually the assistant liaison. I don't know what the title is called. Zaina couldn't be here today. Council met on the, don't have the dates because time has lost all meaning, but we met in regards to the motion for the board to conduct an audit regarding Kickoff 2019. I believe it's in the minutes. Council has also appointed a number of members to a board oversight committee and an internal oversight committee, which I believe is called the Council Governance Committee. Gabe, do you remember? I don't.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, so just in regard to the last meeting, so our last meeting, I believe, was last week on April the 8th was the date, Ryan. We met in regards to the fall kickoff, and the motion was placed on the agenda by the Council Governance Committee. And the week before the council meeting, the Council Governance Committee met in order to debrief on the options that were presented for a potential audit of the fall kickoff that was presented in the joint session of board and council. And the option that was chosen by the Council Governance Committee was an internal audit. So that motion moved from the Council Governance Committee to council as a recommendation. And so a week later, the council met and had discussion and debate on whether or not recommending an internal audit to the board was something that we wanted to do. And in the end, the motion that was passed was to not recommend to the board to conduct an audit, and instead, in the future, work with the board in order to improve the planning, budgeting, and oversight processes that go into planning large-scale events. And there were many reasons cited for this, mainly being with the current circumstances in mind regarding COVID-19, the council thought that the society resources and that money could go to could be used for better things, specifically in regard to COVID-19 emergency funds and etc. So that is where council stands on recommending an audit to the board on the fall kickoff. And I believe that is the only significant item that came out of the council meeting last week. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. There's also, I delivered on behalf of the board a update on what the board has been doing, and the council also had a conversation around how they're going to, or how are their DSU is organizing and planning events that we have indicated that we can give support to as much as possible in any way, shape, or form that we can. If possible as well, I have a letter from council that was sent to the board that we will have on the record here for this meeting. Kristen, if possible, this can be added to the attachments. My apologies on leaving this out. I believe that is it from the council, is the report from council as a whole. So that is the link. Does it work? Okay, sweet. Thank you. All right, thanks, folks. So now we have the guest Q&A. Is there any guest that wants to ask any questions of the board? I believe that the peak is here. Peak and other guests, you may ask accordingly. Hello. Is the peak here? You have any questions? Okay, sweet. It's fine. I'll repeat. No, not now repeat. I will repeat. Does everybody see the captions? Or is it just me?
I have them on as well. Quite entertaining.
Yeah. The bi-week reports have not gone up. So we've sent a couple that are supposed to go up since during the election time. So what happens is that as soon as they're sent, I would send them over as a work order to the communications office. I have sent over one to put up. I will send the other two for March before this. The end of the day. Thank you for but like there's the the March one and the end of February one is supposed to be up already. If not, I'll just nudge that we need to have it up. But it's only two. So that one March and then the one on the last term of the last week, the last 2 weeks in March. There's a bi-weekly. So I believe that the 20th, if it's not there, it should be up soon. And then I'll ask about the end of March one. And then April, we're in the process of April. I believe that the deadline is today. Is there any other question? Oh yes, and the deadline is today, folks. So please do your report. Sweet. Okay, I think we can go into, and other guests, there are no other questions. Cool. I believe we can go into announcements. So we have a couple of announcements. So the next board meeting, instead of the 29th, will be instead on the 22nd. I'll send out a board reminder today, or a call for agenda items today, but the deadline for the call for agenda items would be today, and I'm not taking any, or the board may take amendments, but the purpose of this meeting is solely on the budget conversation. The next board meeting after that is on the 29th. This is our final board meeting of the year. And I'm still waiting on the two remaining conference reports. This is the Leaders Hall conference and another one. I think which one was this? The student care. So please send that over, folks, when you have the chance. But thank you so much. I think, did I have another one? I think I had one more. Webcam issue. I'll send it over. Oh, sorry. Yes, the SERB. We have signed on to a letter that we have posted on our website. Well, posted the petition on our website. The board decided to sign on to a letter regarding making sure that students are not left behind by the new rollout of the SERB changes, the COVID emergency response budget. And I just wanted to notify the folks for the purposes of this meeting. And I'll send the change.org petition as a result, and news articles. But yes, that's it for the meeting, and we will now move to adjourn. So be resolved to adjourn the meeting at 4:09 p.m. Can I have a mover for the motion? I almost said Gabe. Nick and Julian. Nick moved, Julian seconded. So this is 4:09, and I believe we don't have any discussion. So seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. Meeting adjourned. Thanks. Gabe, how do I stop the recording?
Click the stop recording button.
I don't see it.
Go to the bottom right corner, the dot. Yeah. Giovanni, I also have a question.